Okay, so we were in the middle of a machlekes. So we're going back into machlekes. So the pasuk says in Mishlei, Chav Zayin Yud Tes, K'mayim haponim leponim kein leiv ha'odam la'odam. Sorry? Oh, you heard? Oh, okay. Zog Mesudus. K'mayim k'mo derech ha'mayim marim mis haponim b'doim le'haponim mistaklim bo. Just like water reflects back the face that's looking into it. If it's happy and smiling, then you see a smiling face. If it's miserable, you'll see a miserable face. Kein leiv adam la'adam, so is the heart of man to man. If you have a heart that's toiv on your friend, yitav gam libay, his heart will be happy too. V'imra teira gamhu, and if you have bad feelings, they'll feel bad too. Yodua dika pasuk, shat we all know, k'mayim ponim aponim. But you know what? Science finally caught up with Chazal. Finally. And we learn chidushim from the world of science that is reflected in this Chazal. And it's always like that. We just see it time and time again. And I want to just mention something, that a concept that I'd like to, again, to share with you, we should take home with us and understand this concept. So there was a big machadish in the field of psychology. His name is Dr. Stephen Porges. Grada a Yid, fine person. And he was machadish something called polyvagal theory. We're not going to go into the whole thing. But there were three concepts he was machadish in this polyvagal theory. The first was a tremendous chiddush called neuroception. What's neuroception? So a word he made up, neuroception. It's just like we have perception. I perceive. Through my senses, we perceive things. And what he recognized is in the world of safety, there's something called neuroception. Your nervous system, long before you're cognitively aware of what's going on around you, but your nervous system is already picking up details of threat. This is called neuroception. Everyone knows this. When you walk into your house one night and there's a mood, there's a matzav. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? There's a feeling. There's something there that you're nodding. Do you understand what I'm talking about? This is called neuroception. Yeah, good, okay. Neuroception. Like, what's up? And you know something's up. Your nervous system is already putting you into a place, I don't know if you're aware of it, where you're already entering in defensively. This is one of his big chidushim. You're consciously perhaps not aware yet, but internally, you feel it. If you can tune into it, you know you're aware of it, and you're already acting defensively. Which, of course, you can imagine, k'mayim ponim al ponim, what happens when your spouse picks up that which your nervous system picked up in your spouse of their discomfort with you because you're late, because supper's burned, you didn't come home on time, where were you, was shopping too long, who knows what the issue is. But you're already picking it up and bouncing off each other before you even said a word. This is called neuroception. And we have to learn to trust our neuroception. And I'll tell you why. Because if we can tune into it, we become aware it exists. If you can just accept it, it's true. And when you start picking up those feelings, recognize the likelihood is you just became defensive. You just became protective. And the next thing out of your mouth, if you're not careful, will be something that protects you from the person you perceive, your spouse, who's threatening you. And of course, how do you think they'll receive that? Exactly. And so it goes weiter and weiter and weiter. First concept I want to talk about, this idea of neuroception, that we could embrace and understand. When you're picking something up, you probably are, and you need to own that quickly, or you're going to get defensive. I know what she's thinking. No, it's true. There's nothing I share with you that I haven't suffered through miserably myself. This I promise you. This is first-hand experience, I promise you. There's a second kind. There's three, but I'm going to leave one out. Hierarchy, we'll leave that alone. But I want to go to a second concept that he talks about that is so profound and so crucial to us. And again, it's sort of where science catches up with Chazal, and it's just so beautiful when you see it. There's a concept he called co-regulation. And it's such a profoundly important concept that I'm telling you, when we go home from this conference, please embrace these concepts, write them down, get them, think of them, and live with them. Neuroception and co-regulation. What's co-regulation? Co-regulation is something so awesome and powerful. It's a gift that Eibishter gave us, that you can change someone's heart. You can change their feelings through the way you relate to them. Co-regulation means that when I'm faced with the awareness of the neuroception that my wife is upset with me, and I'm feeling it and I don't know why, co-regulation, when I see with my own eyes that her face has dropped and she seems upset, that I calm myself and I tune in and inquire, tell me, honey, what's that about? What's going on? And I do that gently. I do that lovingly. I do that respectfully. Honey, help me out. What's going on? What is it you're feeling? And she observes in my affect, she observes in me caring for her feelings, and her feelings change. As I always tell my wife, you can't not love me. It's not possible. All I have to do is act loving. All I have to do is tune into her feelings in a loving way, and you can't not love me. When we spoke at Mezbridge, the last conference, this Nifladika conference that we had, that was so life-altering, that was so incredible, I spoke about, take a look at if you haven't yet seen the videos from that conference, the one I spoke about, Ben Sora V'Mora, and I spoke about meta-communication. You see, when we communicate with each other, there's the words I'm saying to you, there's my facial expression, there's my tone of voice, and there's my body language. And when the words are inconsistent with the facial expression, tone of voice, or body language, which one do you think we listen to and trust? Absolutely. Should I do it again? I can say the words, I love you, in a way you know darn well I hate you. I love you. Your Honor, I said those three words, I love you. Yeah, I love you. Co-regulation means I harness the power of my facial expression, my tone of voice, my body language. I own that. I recognize the gifts Hashem gave me in my facial expression, body language, and tone of voice, and kamayim panim al panim ken leva adam, I can change her feelings. These are gifts Hashem gave us that we need to use. We need to recognize that neuroception, that there's something off going on. If we're picking it up, it's real. And instead of again, you're in a mood. What now? Okay, what did I do? Honey, I'm picking something up. Can I be helpful? Can I understand what's bothering you? Can I know you? Because what experience for a human being, for a husband and wife, is greater than being known? What is more meaningful to any of us than when our spouse knows us, when they know how we feel, when they reach inside to connect and know who we are, even if they disagree, even if they feel differently, but they want to know us? What experience is better? None. This is so crucial to what we're attempting to do, all of us, by creating this environment for our children where they'll want to reattach to us. Because after all, what happens when our children go through their struggles and we didn't know about how to do crisis chinuch? We never heard of twisted parenting. You never heard of me, of Avi, of anyone. You never heard of anything. What did you do? Well, I'll tell you, you did everything wrong. That's what we did. Ani Harishan. I was first in line for doing everything wrong. We all did everything wrong. And our kids detached from us because it wasn't safe to be around us. And the life we were trying to give them didn't feel safe to them because we didn't know them and we didn't understand them. The place where they learn to reattach to us is through us, is with us, is witnessing that willingness and desire to know each other, to reach into each other, to love each other. That creates the environment within which the magic can work. When you have a machlokas, husband and wife, there are 3 options in front of you, 2 bad ones and 1 great one. The first option is where you believe in your head that essentially I'm right and you're wrong. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that. But if you have, you know it has a very bad outcome. The problem with I know I'm right and you're wrong is that chances up your neuroception will chap. And when you chap, you will not be happy to know that I believe you're wrong and I'm right. And so I activate you because I believe I'm right and you're wrong. I activate you to make you defensive. I put you offline, which basically wrecks everything for both of us because then you attack me back to protect yourself. So the moment you believe between husband and wife, I'm 100% right, and the other person is wrong, you're both wrong. You're done. It's a very dangerous place to be because you know you're going to activate your spouse who will then activate you and you'll both be offline and it'll be very miserable. What's option 2? It's also a bad option. Option 2 is you're right, I'm wrong. Bad option. Number 1 is you don't believe it. You don't believe it. And guess what? Your body language, facial expression, tone of voice, and body language will tell her or him that I know you're wrong. I'm just saying it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, you're right. Fine. You're right. How convincing was that? It's like just slap him in the face. Now you're playing games. You're patronizing me. Any belief based on I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, chances are you're both going offline. And you're going to have a miserable machlokes. It's not productive. What's the healthy place to be? Is we're both a bit right and we're both a bit wrong. I have what to learn from you and your uniqueness. Your perspective is not mine. And I have what to learn from you. And your spouse can respond, and I have what to learn from you. It's not about right or wrong. And when you have that, your body language informs your spouse, I care about what you have to say. I value your opinion. And in that act, and in that moment, you are co-regulating. Do you understand what you're doing for each other? You're co-regulating. You're picking up. This is like incredible diagnostic and neuroscience, but your nervous system is picking up that I'm safe with you. And when I'm safe with you, I relax. And I don't get defensive. And I breathe. And I feel cared for and understood and loved. And then we can have a productive disagreement. This couldn't be more crucial for everything you're going to learn this weekend and everything we try to do to try and help our kids. Without this, we've basically undermined everything we're doing. There couldn't be anything more important than working out how to do this. And I'll tell you why. Because of the gift of attachment. You see, when you do this, when you co-regulate, when you tune in and respect the fact that, you know what, I'm a little bit right, you're a little bit right, I'm a little bit wrong, you're a little bit wrong. You know, we have what to learn from each other. Let's do this together. We each have different perspectives. Not only do you attach to each other, not only do you connect to each other, but you provide an environment in which it is safe for your child to reattach to you. And after all, what is this all about? What is Kesher Nafshi? Nafsho kshura b'nafsho. It's about reattachment. We all recognize we're losing the attachment to our kids. They've disconnected from us. They don't want us or our values, Rahman al-Islam. They don't want it. And they've gone through their traumas and struggles, and we're desperately trying to reconnect them. The primary reconnection is through the environment we create at home. If we don't create the attachment to each other, then we don't create the potential for their reattachment to us. Does that make sense? It is crucial. This is not just living a nicer life. This is fundamental to everything we're trying to teach and bring awareness to. This is an absolute critical, fundamental piece of this puzzle for how we're going to reattach and help our kids to come back to us. We do not create the magic of inspiration that brings our kids back. We don't do that. That almost always happens somewhere else. A mentor, a Rebbe, a friend, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend. Who knows where it happens? But it almost always happens out there. It doesn't happen from us. But it almost never happens if we don't facilitate the reattachment with our children, the environment where they want to fantasize and believe that this is an environment they want to be part of. And the way we create that environment is through the authentic reattachment or healthy attachment between husband and wife is where we create the primary attachment, the environment where they want to be back in our lives. I cannot understate how crucial this is. And I want to say again, as I said at the beginning, that for those at this stage of life who do not have a spouse to practice this with everyone around you. Practice this on the phone with friends. Practice this with relatives. Practice this with the children. Create an environment where around you, your interest is connecting, attaching, knowing, creating safety. This is what we have to do if we're going to get our kids to come back. What is validation? So validation means that I acknowledge to my spouse that I respect your right to feel differently to me about life. I respect the fact that I and you don't agree on everything. It's impossible. We can't. But I utterly respect your right to feel differently than me about anything. And again, this is crucial because we're here in crisis mode. I don't mean this second. I hope I'm not putting you into crisis this moment. I don't mean that. We'll get Yaakov Solomon back up here to get you out of crisis mode. No, what I mean is in our lives with our kids, we all know this. We're living a life where we feel under siege, where we feel every second, who knows what could go wrong, what could happen next, what crisis we're facing today, tonight, tomorrow. It never ends. Every moment seems to be another twist and turn, and we're in crisis mode. In crisis mode, you go offline, as I said before. In crisis mode, you go into self-preservation. In crisis mode, it's very hard to connect with your spouse naturally because everything's so scary, so frightening. Therefore, kal v'chomer, how much we have to work. We, us. And I want to tell you, it's a beautiful thing. Because what are we saying, sof kol sof? We're going to create love. We're going to create loving marriages, loving homes, loving environments. We're going to thank our children. As I said to our eldest daughter, the chasna, when she asked mechila from me, and I told her, Liba, you gave me more than you took from me. I was referring to this. You gave me more than you took from me because you forced me to go to a place to create a loving home and environment that I probably never would have stumbled across if not for the desperate need to help you. This is the gift we have here. When you're in crisis mode, it's incredibly easy to undermine your spouse because you feel desperate. You feel like, no, they can't do that. They can't, don't let them do that. And this hand is basically wiping your spouse out. No, please, come on, no. Making them feel like 2 cents and stupid. When you're in crisis mode, we feel desperate, so we need to contain that. We need to recognize that. We need to ground ourselves and hold ourselves. And recognize the power of co-regulation that by me controlling myself and smiling lovingly and warmly at my spouse as we process the difficult questions we're constantly going to have, the difficult decisions we're constantly going to have, that we are mechuyev to process them with love. What could be so bad? We are forced, of all people in the world, to create the highest level of loving homes that could exist. That's what we're forced to do. Is that so bad? I don't think so. I don't think so. We are mechuyev to do it. This is what we owe to our kids. And so we must validate the right of my spouse not to be me, to feel differently, to think differently, to be different to me. They're not me. And you're going to see it differently. And I have to control the way I engage you when I recognize that you want to do it differently to me. Okay, I hear. Let me learn. What can I learn from you? Let me learn your perspective. Let me see what you think and how you feel. Let me do that calmly. And if you can't, go into the other room for a minute and ground yourself. Go sit in the car and ground yourself and come back and say, honey, I'll speak to you in a minute. Trust me, they'll be grateful. When you come home at night and you're walking in expecting who knows what, before you, if you have a combination number on your doors, you know, the old days we had keys. Does anyone have a key anymore? I have no clue. I think everyone's like, oh, the combination thing. But before you walk in the house, ground yourself. Ground yourself. You don't know what's behind that door. You don't know what crisis is lying there for you now. When your spouse calls 3 times in a row before you answer, ground yourself, because you have no idea what's coming. Co-regulate each other. Let's use the power of co-regulation. That our hearts should be in love and caring and supportive of each other. We owe this to our children. Do we get this? Do we understand this? This is so crucial. Validating doesn't necessarily mean you agree. This is the big mistake most people have. How could I validate her? Then she'll think I agree with her. It's just not true. Validating means I believe you have a right to feel differently to me. And I honor that right. And I have no clue. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong. I don't know. Validating doesn't mean I have to become vishtachavim. Yes, I agree with you. You're right. I'm wrong. That's patronizing. Validating means I respect your right to feel and think differently to me, especially in this crisis situation we're in right now. You come home, imagine the following. You come home and there's a matzav, there's an atmosphere. It's gone on for a few days now. Eventually, one of you says something like, I don't know, you've been very cold these last few days. Big mistake, by the way. Big mistake. To which she responds, I've been cold. And she bursts out crying. What are you, crazy? You know how horrible you've been to me this last week? Me horrible to you? I'm just walking out on eggshells around you. I don't know what's going on with you. With me, I'm telling you I'm reacting to you. And before you know it, we all know how unpleasantly that ends. Not validating your spouse's experience puts them on the defensive. Instantly puts them on the defensive. If your spouse says, I've been feeling you're cold to me, be curious. Really? Really? I'm unaware. I didn't know. Tell me more about it. Ground first. Hold yourself together and be curious about what that means. I wasn't aware. Imagine the difference now in that conversation. When you look at her and say, I truly wasn't aware. Tell me what you're seeing in me. And guess what? Maybe we'll learn something. Maybe we'll learn something that we can humble ourselves and be more honest about ourselves. Maybe we'll actually realize that I was completely disconnected. Maybe I was so scared about what's going on with my kids, I was just shut down and frightened and disconnected. And maybe my spouse is really hurting because I'm so cold and disconnected, and they're taking it very personally, and I'm clueless because I'm just in my fight and flight. I'm just scared. I'm just shut down. But imagine how horrible it turns around the other way when your reaction is, you think I'm cold? Let me tell you how you've been treating me. It's a disaster. Ground, and be curious. This word curious is a beautiful word, by the way. It's a wonderful, I'm just curious. Say to your, try it with your spouse. You'll see that it puts an instant smile on their face. It's a magic. This is for all the guys here. Next time your wife's upset with you, go over and say, I'm just curious. I really want to understand that better. You watch her face, like grins instantly. Like, what is that? Because you're interested, you're curious, you want to know her. Most of us men are not deliberately out to lunch. I want to be honest. This isn't a choice we made. We didn't drink the out to lunch coffee every morning. Right, am I right? The out to lunch cup? We didn't drink that cup every morning just so we can be out to lunch. We have a gift, men. It's a wonderful gift. We have the gift that we can create dissociative disorder in ourselves like this. We can disappear into a sugya, into work, into anything other than listening to you. Let's be honest. It's a gift. Hashem gave it to us. It's not our fault. When you personalize that gift that Hashem gave us, we don't take that well. Mostly because we're still not hearing you. And we have no clue why you're so hard on me. We have to be curious. If a wife says to her husband, I'm curious, honey. I don't know if you're aware, and I'm sure it's not deliberate. Have you any idea what I'm feeling? Most men have no clue what you're feeling, let's be honest. We don't have a clue. But when you ask us like that, we often say, nothing. Am I right? We have no clue what to say. How are you feeling? For us, that's like, I think I have to go to Ma'ariv. We thank Yaakov Avinu for Ma'ariv, trust me. It isn't personal. It's because we're men. But if you're curious about us and you smile, it's amazing. And you smile at me and say, I'm just curious. Does it work? Absolutely, she said. Look at that. Absolutely. And you smile at, that's co-regulation. Do we understand this? Co-regulate. I have the power to turn what was otherwise going to be a disaster. When she says, have you any idea what I'm feeling? This will not end well. Again, you're upset. What'd I do this time? But when you're curious and you say to him, honey, have you any clue what I'm feeling? Have you any idea? It's okay. I love you. Just have you any idea what I'm feeling? I'm just curious. Okay. I think I can work with that. You're curious about how... Say it again. What I'm feeling? No. What I'm feeling. Oh, right, I got it. 1 second. You're curious about... Do I understand what you're feeling? Can you give me some options? Let's start. Give me a list. Let's do multiple choice. But at least he's interested. Co-regulation. We, the world of crisis, that's our world. We're always in crisis. So we're always partially offline. That was the other drasha. We're always offline. So we're always in crisis. So we're always scared. So we're always protective. So we have to create these marvelous, marvelous relationships between us where we co-regulate each other. We bring each other online. We help stay present. And the word curious happens to be a marvelous word. I'm just curious, honey. How are you feeling? I'm curious if you know how I'm feeling. I'm curious if you know I'm scared. I'm curious if you know how frightened I am. And so we connect because we do it in a way that says, I'm not your enemy, I'm your friend. I'm with you, I'm here with you, I want to know you. This creates the foundation on which we hope our children will observe and feel safe with us and desire to be with us, around us, because they see and feel that safety. They witness it, they experience it. We co-regulate them. Does this make sense? This is so profound. If you don't do that, you end up arguing about the Metzias. I never said that. I know what you're talking about. I never said that. Yes, you did. You said it. I heard you say it. Actually, what they're really saying is, I know, well, they're not saying this, but this is what they're actually saying if we could, annotate. I understand the words you said did not say that. When you said to me, leave me alone. You thought you said, I need some space. I just need some space. That's what you thought you said. But when you said, I need some space, you said, leave me alone, bug off. Leave me alone. Get out of here. You're bothering me. And you actually thought you said, I need some space. Honey, I need some space. Just need some space. Which is a totally legitimate thing to need. But your body language, facial expression, and tone of voice didn't say, I need some space. They said, leave me alone. Get away from me. You're bothering me. You're threatening me. Your happiness in your marriage depends on your ability to co-regulate, because there will always be conflict between us. Simon said what I have explained time and time again, that men and women don't get along naturally. That's obvious. But in the world of crisis with our children, in severe crisis where there are really difficult problems and struggles and pains and embarrassments and shame and protection of other children and the neighbors and the school and the phone calls and everything else we got to deal with, and all that while she's walking out the house barely clothed in the middle of the winter, we're in crisis mode. We have to respect that in crisis mode, the worst of us comes out, not the best of us. And what our children need to witness at that precise moment is us co-regulating each other, tuning into each other, being sensitive to each other, being kind to each other, validating each other's right to be them. If you're scared, I get it. For years, my wife and I took turns. When one of us just blew a fuse, we'd step in and send the other one, go take some time out. I'll take over. It's okay. And you give them time out. And it's so appreciated. Because you can't live in crisis every single second. So you have to tune in for when that fuse is about to flip and reach into it with your spouse and say, maybe I'll take over now. You go take some time off. Go to sleep, go for a walk, go for a drive, go shopping, whatever you need. I'll take over. We have to tune in, which means we have to be curious about how your spouse feels all the time. And we have to express that curiosity with our facial expression, our body language, and our tone of voice. Because if you don't, they will hear the opposite. Our goal is to validate the right of our spouse to feel different. We're going through crisis with our kids. All of you have had the painful experience everyone here, of trying to get absolute clarity from someone about what you should do next. Has anyone not had that experience? When you were desperate to get someone on the phone who could just tell you what to do next because you felt desperate. And you can't get that person on the phone and you don't know what to do next. And you're in a desperate matzav. You feel desperate. In such a matzav, such a situation engenders fear, anxiety. It pushes you offline again, into fight and flight, back into a safe space. And in such a pace, we're going to hurt each other. And the very thing we're trying to achieve is undermined by the fact that we just hurt each other. Because whatever you do now is worthless. I promise you. Makes no benefit at all. None. If your child is experiencing dissonance between their parents, then whatever you do fails. We have to learn that even if I disagree with you, I'm going to validate your point of view. I'm going to respect how you feel. Just as I would hope you would respect how I feel. And we have two different opinions. Let's process it together. Let's work it out. But let's not have a battle here of wills about proving who's right because I'm desperate and feel frightened. And we're going to bash each other and hurt each other in this desperate process to make the right decision. People fight about metzias all the time. I did say this, I didn't say this. You know, in my office, people always want to roll the camera. They tell me, they swear, and it's fascinating that two people would both wish that we'd roll the same film, the same video, to prove that they are both right. How's that possible? He says, I didn't say that, I never said that, it's not true. And she says, yes, you did say that. And they both want to roll the camera because they're 100% convinced that the camera will show they were right. How's that possible? And the answer is because your body language, facial expression, your tone of voice said the different message to your spouse. And they learned that message. And fighting about Messiah is a waste of time. If your spouse says, why do you treat me like that? You were so patronizing. Don't put me down in front of the kids. To debate whether or not I put you down. What a waste. No, I never put you down. Let's try. Imagine this logic. No, I didn't put you down. How many of you have a spouse who turns around and says, oh, well, thank you for correcting me. I feel better now. That feels better. No. Okay, I didn't realize. My feelings obviously are wrong. It's good. Great. Thank you. That feels marvelous. No one was ever angered into agreement. Think about it. No human being was ever angered into agreement. They might be angered into compliance, but it's a total fantasy. Internally, they totally disagree with you. So what's the point? Co-regulation tells me that I have to tune into who you are and how you feel. And I have to validate your right to feel differently to me. You have a right to feel differently. You're not me. You should be me. And maybe you're even more right than I am. And maybe I have something to learn from you. And we have to discipline ourselves to learn to be curious about those differences. I want to know you. And when you reach into a relationship, willing to know your spouse, especially when they feel differently to you, you create love. You create love. And your children see that love and they feel that love. I want to review. None of these are, I just want to bring out this issue of validating, like, deeper. So I'm going to review 7 different ways that we validate each other. And we disagree, right? We disagree with each other. And there's 7 different ways. None of them are more important than the others. Each one talks to different people. That's why I talk about different ways, because we relate to them all differently. You don't have to have them all. Whichever one, they all say the same thing, but they're all nuanced to relate to different people, because we relate to this word, validation, differently. Listening. Let's start with the first one. Probably the most important way to validate your spouse is by actually listening to them. Now, that sounds like obvious, I think, no? Okay, so now for the record, all the ladies just went like this. Just for the record. And all the men did this. Let's talk about listening. Listening, what does it mean to listen? Listening means, and this is incredible Chiddush, amazing, shocking actually. Listening means you do not interrupt your spouse till they finish speaking. What a Chiddush. Try it. Don't interrupt them till they finish speaking. Wait. And actually, when they finished, and you have a suffix they finished, because it's only a suffix, they might just be getting air inside so they can recharge and go weiter. Notice the ladies all know that. We stop when we run out of air. See, there's some guy over there saying, yeah. Don't interrupt till they finish speaking. And you know what? When you think they finished, say, honey, did you finish? Mashiach is coming. You see these ladies, they know Mashiach's coming before the Shabbos is over. Honey, did you finish? Do you have more to add? I would love to hear more of your thoughts and feelings. Don't interrupt to disagree with them. Don't interrupt till they finished. And inquire, have you finished? I'm happy to hear more. Don't defend yourself. There's a word, it's a common word in the English language. I would like to suggest you get rid of it when you're talking to your spouse. The word is but. Never start a sentence with but. You can say and. You say, honey, I heard what you said, and I feel this way. But you can never say, honey, I heard what you said, but I feel this way. Because usage of that word says, you're wrong, you're stupid, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Don't say but. Say and. Don't, if you have one, look at your watch when your spouse is talking. Oh, excuse me, let's be precise. Don't look at your watch when your wife is talking. Women don't do that because they love it when we talk to them. Don't look at your watch. You know, you should only look at your watch if you're worried about Sofsman Krishma and when you finished eating fleischiks. Otherwise, keep that thing covered when you're in the house. Definitely not when you're talking to your wife. Don't peek at your watch. Rabbi Yaakov mentioned about the cell phone. Okay, speaks for itself. Let's move on. Okay. Enough said. It's too painful. Let's just move on from the cell phone. But I think maybe in the oven, we got the point. when you're listening to your wife? Listen to your wife. Listen to your spouse. Listen to them, even if you disagree, even if you feel differently. Don't interrupt, don't defend, and definitely do not say but when they finished talking. Say, if you really have to, say and. And I'll tell you the best thing to do. The best thing is, if you really disagree profoundly, is say, I hear. Repeat back to them what they said so they know you heard, and then ask for time to think about it. Ask, can I have some time? I'd like to think about it. I hear what you're saying. This is what I heard you say. Did I get it right? Okay, let me think about it. That's like, am I right? That's like top run, home run. Whatever you do, don't say but and don't interrupt. We have to listen to each other because listening says, I validate you. I validate your right to be you. I validate your right to think the thoughts you have. And I even validate that you may be more right than me. I don't know. We'll find out. Try and repeat it back. And if need be, ask for time just to think it over. And then address it later. That's listening. Supporting. Supporting means like this. Even if you believe that the goals of your spouse are unattainable or just stupid. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense what you want to do. You want to open a whole school somewhere with cows and a ranch. You're going to import, 50, people to run it, and you're going to pay for them. And yeah, you're going to raise the money. Don't worry, it's easy. It's like, support them, support each other, even if you think that the goals or ideas they have for saving your child or helping your life are unattainable or just not realistic, but support them that, okay, I hear, let's think about it. Let's think it through, maybe. Fighting about it is for sure worse for your kids. So even if you think it's crazy, listen to it, support it. I hear you. Let's think about it. You go to Avi, and he tells you, the husband, here, I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to take your kid, and you're going to go to Alaska salmon fishing for 10 days. Get him out of Brooklyn. 10 days salmon fishing in Alaska. 5-star hotel. You got to go. Come home all pumped. This is what I'm doing. And your wife looks at you and says, I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. You can't do that. First, listen, maybe it's a great idea. I hear. Let's think about it. Support the idea. You come up with a crazy idea, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's a perfect idea. I don't know. The fact that I think it might be crazy does not mean that you think it's crazy. Support the idea and acknowledge, we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. Even if you think it's nuts, it makes no sense. And anyway, he just wants to get off work and go fishing, with his, and you're left at home with 9 kids. And 8 of them have COVID. And he's off to Alaska in the 5-star hotel. Very nice. I don't blame you. I'm going too. What kind of business is this? Support him. Even if you think it's a tremendous investment in time and it just makes sense, support him. Discuss it later. I hear the idea. I hear. Encourage each other. Even if you think the choices you're making or the things, the projects you're trying to do are unrealistic or unreasonable, encourage each other. You're trying. Don't knock it. You hear someone comes up with a great idea, right? You can't, no, that's never going to work. What kind of business is that? Where's the co-regulation? Where's the love and caring? You don't ever say, no, that's never going to. How do you know? You're a novi? Maybe it will work. You have an opinion. You think it might not work. Okay, we'll discuss that later. But encourage. You're trying to come up with ideas. We're all in crisis. We're all in crisis. We're desperately trying to come up with ideas and answers, and some of them are going to be crazy. Someone once told me years ago, I met someone who was a very young executive in advertising on Madison Avenue. They taught me something so amazing, so profound. It was life-altering for me. A young lady. She was an executive. And she told me that she changed her... I said, how do you become an executive in advertising so young? She was barely 30. And she was like a big executive already. She said she came up with an idea that changed her firm. What was the idea? She said that when they had a product to sell, you know, they bring the product, I don't know, a cup, a bottle, a plane, something. They want to sell it. So a group, a team is given the idea, come up with a marketing idea. How to market this product. And they come up with the idea, and they meet weekly, and they come up with the ideas, and they present their ideas to each other. And she noticed that when they went around the table presenting their ideas, you could see people's faces going like this. You know. And the ruach, the spirit in the room, dropped. You know, who's going to be willing to say something nutty, creative, if everyone's faces are going like this? Where's the creativity? It's all gone. So she came up with a chiddush, and they promoted her to executive. This was her chiddush. She said, every time someone presents an idea, everyone gets out their seats and start clapping like crazy and say, wow, amazing, amazing. They're blowing, you know, what they call streamers, what are those things called? And it's a party. And everyone jumps up and claps and applauds and cheers. Doesn't matter how stupid it is, the idea. Everyone's applauding and going crazy. And what they discovered was the creative juices of everyone in the room was freed. Everyone got freed up. And she got promoted. Amazing, amazing thing. I realized how profound that is in life. We're in crisis. We're desperately trying to come up for ideas to maybe improve the matzav and help. And when your spouse says it, really? Nah, it won't work. I'm a novi, I know things. And everyone just feels like, okay. Be joyful, support them. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. Now she turns around to her husband and she says, you know what, I got a great idea. I'm going to Alaska with him. You stay home with the kids. Okay, great. Do you want to go? As long as one of us goes. I don't care. Let's go. You really want to go? Support the idea. 1 second. You just told me it was a stupid idea. Now you're going to Alaska? Support her. She changed her mind. She wants to go. Leave you home with 8 COVID kids. See how you manage. Even if you think they're unreasonable, their ideas are crackpot, nutty ideas, cheer, rejoice, encourage, make them feel special. You know why? Because when you do that, we all get creative. And when you throw cultivasa every time, now we can't afford it, we can't this, I don't have time, everyone does, okay. Encourage them. Be excited about it. It doesn't matter whether you agree or not, it's irrelevant. But the more excited you are, the more together you get creative and you find solutions and you find ideas and you create love. Respecting. You have to respect the right of your spouse to think and feel differently to you. You know, we all float around in a deus bubble. It's a bubble. Right? Deus. The Rambam says, Deus harbi eish la'adam, ve'ena doime zulazu. We're all in our bubble. And we're all floating merrily around life in our bubble, thinking I'm right about everything. Everything in my bubble's true. Everything outside is false. I'm right about everything. And we're all floating around this deus bubble until someone comes and goes, beep. Usually it's our kids, by the way. Beep. You have to respect the fact that your spouse is floating in their bubble, totally as clear that everything inside their bubble's right and yours is wrong. We're all floating away. We're all so in total world of dimion, thinking, well, I'm right, she's wrong, and she's thinking, I'm right, he's wrong. You know, none of us are right. We're all right, we're all wrong, we have to respect each other's deus bubble, that we all see life differently, we have different life experiences, we have to respect it. You have to respect the fact that even though Avi and Zog go to Alaska, that only one of you agrees that Alaska's a great idea. But that doesn't mean you say you shouldn't go. I don't have to agree that it's a good idea. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. How could I know? But if you believe it is, I'm with you. If you believe it is, I'm with you. I don't have to approve that I believe it too. I don't. But the fact that I don't believe it's true doesn't make it false. And guess what? The respect we have for each other, by respecting your right to be different and to believe different, is actually far more important overall in helping our children than whether this particular issue I was right or wrong. It's not relevant. The atmosphere of love and caring and respect for each other is far greater than this particular Alaska trip. Does that make sense? Trusting. We have to trust each other. You have to trust your spouse and their feelings and opinions, even if they do not align with yours. There is no way we're going to see life identical. It's impossible. We will actually frequently discover that we feel differently about things. There are things that are of value to me that are not necessarily to my spouse of value, and that doesn't make them bad or wrong, or me right. It just makes me different. Can I mention the plants? Plants, can I mention? Oh, good. I like plants. I talk to them, and they grow in my presence. I'm one of those people with a green thumb. Do you know those ones, those lilies with the red lily thing comes up in the middle, right? They're like green, right? How many lilies do you ever get, like maximum at one time? 4 or 5, right? 4 or 5. You know what I'm doing, those plants? Right? They like these like nice lily things, right? You get 4 or 5. I have one in my office that has 22. 22. And when I came back after the summer, it was dead. And I brought it back to life in my office. My wife, soll sein gesund und stark, thinks I'm tight sugar, in love with plants. What is wrong with you? She thinks I'm a semi-nutcase. If she catches me talking to them, she's ready to call a psychiatrist. She would be happy if they were all silk and we just leave them alone and fine, done. But she loves me. So therefore she loves me and my plants and lets me be with my plants. I know she thinks I'm a semi-nutcase. I got it. I know, for the record. It's my indulgence. It's my thing. I don't know why I love plants so much. I got them all over the house. I got a whole tree growing in the living room. Right? Isn't it gorgeous? You have to admit, right? But it doesn't talk to her. And if I go away for a few weeks, ach and weh on those plants. And I have to accept that. And not expect that she should feel towards these plants like I do. And maybe she will, or maybe she won't. It's not her job. She doesn't have to be me. I have to be me. I cannot expect her to be me. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have to trust your spouse's judgment. Sof kol sof. One of you is going to Alaska. This is the bottom line. Trust me, one of you is going. And you have to accept that. Whether you can afford it or not, or whether you think it's right or wrong, if one of you decides you're going, trust them and go. Geh Gesundheit. Accepting. You have to accept each other for who you are, not try and fix and change each other, but to truly accept you for who you are. You can never intimidate or manipulate or attempt to change your spouse to be you. It's an utter waste of time. It will throw them offline. You'll end up again in your fight and flight, being defensive. The whole circle of negativity starts. You have to accept your spouse. This is who you are. And I have to accept you the way you are. You know what? I wish you would accept me the way I am, with my flaws, with my chesronos. So I will honor you the same way. I will accept you. Even when I have strong differences, and I'm scared that the choices you're making may be bad, I still accept your right to believe those choices are true. And we have to talk it out. Okay, no problem. But I have to really accept in my heart of hearts that I do not have access to emes muchlat, emes lamitosoi, absolute truth. I only have access to my truth. You know, Chazal say emes lamitosoi, truthful truth. What is regular truth if there's truthful truth? Because emes really is just my perception. It's I'll tell you the truth. Let me tell you the truth. You know, I'm going to tell you the truth. You know what that means? I'm going to tell you my humble opinion that could be wrong. That's what it means when you say I'm going to tell you the truth. That's all it means. It's my humble opinion and I could be wrong. It's a lot easier to say that the first time. It works better in marriage. Can I share my humble opinion that might be wrong? Instead of saying, I'm going to tell you the truth. Ich sag dir emes. Ich sag dir emes. Feist? Ich sag besser. If you go to your local Hamisher supermarket on a Friday and interview every third person and ask them, what is the best gefilte fish? Is it the one with sugar in or the sugar-free? The Hamisher, the Hungarian style? I even know people who like jarred gefilte fish. Sorry if I just insulted anyone. They still sell it. Manischewitz, right? They still sell it. What? Kedem, there you go. I know people who like it. It's shocking to me. But they love jarred gefilte fish. What is that? Are they Jewish? But if you go to your local supermarket and interview every third person about gefilte fish, you discover there's a bell curve about gefilte fish. There's people who like the Hamisher and the Hungarian and the extra salt, there's no salt, the gluten-free. You can't have a gluten-free. I think there's even a coffee-flavored one. Did you know that? A coffee-flavored gefilte fish. What? I don't know. People have different tastes in gefilte fish. And there are people who like the jarred. It's true. If you know someone, I have appointments for them available. But there you are. Accepting your spouse is accepting the difference, a bell curve of life. And I don't necessarily know the truth. And when you're in crisis, I just want Chaza Iber again. When I'm in crisis, we're in crisis. How can I accept what you're saying? Who knows what could be? That's always worse than accepting them. And accepting the fact that whether you like it or not, he's going to Alaska. He's going. And you're home with the 8. How many kids with COVID? I think there's 9 now. All 9. They all got it. We have to accept each other and understand we feel differently about life. And that fight we're going to have makes it worse. It's much worse. It doesn't create the environment of safety in which our children can grow up and be healthy and reattach with us. And the last one is, this is number 7. I've lost count. Is this number 7? Ah, gewaldig. Always negotiate disagreements. Always. Always negotiate. You see, we're dealing again in the world of Southfield Nefesh. Let's be real. I am coming to an end. I am. Elizabeth? Oh, there wasn't? Phew. See, I was so scared there. Could you co-regulate me next time you walk past? Like smile at me or something, Gedalia. You see what happened? Always negotiate disagreements. Gedalia, smile. I need it. I'm telling you. 2 times you walk in France. It's like, thank you. Because we're dealing with Southfield Nefesh. We know what we're dealing with. So we get so scared and frightened. Always negotiate disagreements. Always. Don't fight it out. You know, the battle, it feels like this. The battle should be, you know, this battle you're having about who's right and wrong. You want to lose the battle. I don't care, and I want to win the war. The battle is with your spouse. The war is with your ego. And you want to lose the battle and win the war. I want to fight my ego. I want to get it out the way. Because I want to create love. I want to create an environment where my child can feel loved and cared for, and they want to be part of this environment. This is the most geschmack. This beats being out on the streets at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. Because I have a cozy home. I have a loving place. They want to be there. That's what we have to create. So when you look at the Alaska trip, here's what it should sound like. He comes home. Avi said, I'm going to go to Alaska, 5-star hotel. I'm going to rent a cruise, a boat, and go salmon fishing, you know, in Alaska 10 days, and you're staying home with the kids. That's what he said, Avi said. And she says, no problem. If that's what we have to do, and that's what you really feel, it'll be very, very hard for me. I mean, in fact, with all the kids with COVID, whoa, it's going to be incredibly challenging, but if you feel you have to. And he says, you know what, that is a bit crazy. All the kids with COVID. No, you know what, let's not do it now. I'll do it another time. And she says, no, go. Go, I think you should go. And he says, no, I think you should go. You take the kids. And she says, really, I should take the kids? He says, yes, you go with him. Look, you know, and she says, no, you go. And he says, really? I should go on my own to leave my 8-month pregnant wife at home with 9 kids with COVID? And they both laugh. And they both realize how ludicrous the whole thing is. And they love each other. And they work out how to handle it. Where no one's pressuring and no one's forcing, and we're excited about the idea, maybe we should wait a week and go next week, what do you think? Or after the baby, like, you know. And you work it out and you create love. And that creation of love and closeness is more important than everything else. In Christ's chinuch, we have to create that loving home, that united front. And if we don't, the rest of the techniques and the skills, they don't work. Can we understand that? They don't work. Or should I say, they have partial effectiveness. That's probably more correct. They have partial effectiveness. They're not fully effective. That's probably more true. I don't want to say they don't work. Strike that from the tape. Okay, we'll strike that from the tape. They are only partially effective. To be fully effective, you create that home of love where you validate and respect each other. You tune into each other. You reach into each other to know each other. Here's the bottom line. I'll finish with this. this is the take home. Those of you that are writing, write this down. Did we print out those little cards I wanted to give out? Did we ever do it? I am me? No? Chavval. We should. What? We'll get it. Yeah. I really wanted to have it, but we forgot. We were so phenomenal. I wanted to have cards, magnets to give everyone. We couldn't get it on time? Oh. Well, that's just not good enough, Gedalia. Gedalia, I know you tried as hard as you could, and I want you to know I really appreciate it. And notice his smile. Now, I'm not looking at him, but he's smiling. Am I right? See that? And I'm not even looking. That's co-regulation. See that? Here's the summary, and we'll finish with this. I am me. You are you. We are we. I am me. I have to work out how to live with my spouse where I'm authentically me. I live within the truth of who I am. I can always feel safe to tell my spouse, honey, I feel like this. This is my opinion. It doesn't make it right. It's just how I feel. I am me, but I got to work out a way to live authentically with me in a way that doesn't hurt you. That's I am me. You are you. I have to respect the right of you to be you. You're not me. And I have to embrace and expect you to feel differently to me. And I want to respect that. You are you. You're not me. You don't have to be me. And sometimes, especially in crisis mode, we both have to give up who we are and how we feel. We are we. We have to be bigger than each of our egos for the sake of our kids, to put them first and put our needs last. Sometimes we are we. And we will not go on vacation. We didn't do vacations for about a decade. We gave up for about 10 years. We did not go away together, ever, for about 10 years. Because we are we. And even though we wanted it and we needed it, we knew we couldn't do it. And there are lots of things we have to give up together to help our kids. But if we live within those principles of I am me, and I work out how to be me in a way that doesn't offend you, that's my job. And we each have to do that. And I can work out how to honor you to be you without trying to change you to be me. And we can both recognize that sometimes we are we. And we have to both give up. And give up in a serious, deep, heart-wrenching way sometimes. We have to give up our Shabbos table. The Shabbos table that we dreamt of, that we thought it was going to be. We're going to give up sometimes the Kedusha in our home to accommodate things that we never would have accommodated. We're going to give up long divrei Torah at the table on Shabbos. If you haven't yet, do. Give it up. We're going to give up the dreams we had early on in life because we're going to create an environment of love and harmony where our children will find a way back, where they'll be accepted and loved. We are we. And we each give up of ourselves to create that environment. This is the formula. I believe this is the prerequisite on which everything in crisis chinuch and TP will then have a foundation which will be built, and we can really help our children. Thank you very much.
One more second. We have a small surprise for Rabbi Shimon Russell for making all this effort and coming here. One more second. Ginger, bring it in.
What's this? What are you talking about? Oh my gosh. I can't. You brought our kid. Where do we start? I want to introduce my marvelous, wonderful son-in-law, the Rebbe Reberish, Barry, to us. And my daughter Elisheva, who taught us so much about life, about love, about marriage, gave us so much. When they got married, this young couple, do you want to say it?
Huh?
You want to tell them?
We're going to have a chance. There's a
Oh,
thing
there
on
is?
Friday night. Yeah.
There is?
I'm on the schedule.
He's on the schedule. I didn't know.
You didn't see it?
No.
I'm right here.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Friday night. You're on the schedule. You should have checked.
I didn't look.
Yeah, Friday evening.
Rabbi Sai, Friday night, we're going to have a treat with this young couple, and we're going to tell you the truth.
That's me right there.
Oh my gosh, surprise event. Okay.
Surprise guest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
talk then. Yeah.
We'll talk then.
Talk then.
We'll talk then.